Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k Show. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Ryan Gerdes, and in the middle, Justin Frederick from the Frederick team at Fairway Independent Mortgage. Ryan, you know, and we're just going to tell everybody ahead of time, go ahead and, if you're looking where the potential money-making opportunities in the next 12 to 18 months are, in my personal opinion, go ahead and text the word FLIP to 623-AZ-RECON. That's FLIP to 623-AZ-RECON. Ryan, if I had $1 for every time I got on the phone with a new investor who said, I want a flip opportunity, find me a flip opportunity, I would be a millionaire. They are
wrapped around every corner. It's unreal.
And everybody wants to flip. A lot of people don't necessarily know what that means and what kind of cash is involved in it. And sometimes they're so narrow focused on this concept of flipping a house, they're not seeing all of the opportunities ahead of them. And as a nation, we have seen basically in the last year, a 30% drop in profits on flipping, which I think is staggering. We're seeing the profit margins drop on flipping opportunities. So where do we go from here? We always say on our team that, money never disappears. It just moves. What's been your experience in flipping and what you've seen and what your investors are saying to you?
I think that, the days of flipping, it got really, really sexy there, that's kind of what came to pass in the 2000s, right? And then now it's just kind of like, okay, well, it's just more like a flash in the pan. It's kind of how I see it. And then plus on top of that, you have these huge funds out there that have automated these things, and they're like, you know what? We don't need 100% ROI like a lot of these smaller mom and pop flippers do. Mm-hmm. They say, you know what? All we need is 15%. And so they're going to go over there and they're going to buy a home for a hell of a lot more than I will if I'm looking at a flip opportunity. And then they're going to say, yeah, we're keeping our guys busy and we made $15,000 in the process and we're happy with those numbers. So I think that it was just a lot of pressure on the market, so many people entering it, and then everyone just kind of got into a fist fight about it and said, I'll pay more, no, I'll pay more, no, I'll pay more. And then, so now we're seeing decrease in profits by 30% here. And so I'm not shocked.
In 2022 in the nation, there was about 436,800 single family and condo flips. And it dropped by 29% in 2023. And I think, too, it's people don't understand when they're wanting to get into the flipping game, don't understand the competition. We're all getting texted. We're all getting phone calls from these companies. And unless you really have some boots on the ground, unless you really know how to find these, your competition is extensive out there. There's multi-millions of dollars put behind these databases and these call centers, and then you just show up to the big wild west and go, hey, I think I'm going to get into the flipping game and I want to make $100,000 and so forth. And in 2023 or in 2021, the average profit on a flip in the nation was $75,000. In 2022, it dropped down to $70,100, and in 2023, it dropped down to $66,000. The good news is
that's still good money, man.
Yeah, but how much time and people that don't know what they're doing, they're going to put a lot more time in it than somebody that knows exactly what the steps are and what they're doing.
I was just, I was raised poor, and so $60,000.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Like, oh,
okay,
shit.
But let me ask you this: with generally, you either have to come to the table cash, you got to do some sort of hard money, which costs in the way of points and processing fees and so forth.
That's part of the reason.
So $66,000 on a $400,000 home is great. Making $66,000 on a $4 million flip.
That sucks.
That's The great Oracle
barely
Ryan
made it.
Gerdes.
You barely made it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Hard pass. But I think that I think it's just kind of really exposed that there's so many people that were doing this that didn't have a model. They didn't have a plan. They didn't know how the numbers worked. And so they just said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And if it feels right, I'm going to jump in. And you're like, well, that's, go ahead. Good luck doing that. You're going to go bankrupt before you know it, right? So, but there was a number of years where by the time you closed, you already made $20,000 because that's how fast
Just
the market
holding the
was
house,
going
right?
on.
Yeah.
And so now, if they're really putting some business behind it, they're saying, no, I need to get this at a much better price than what I was willing to do it for because of those, the market pressures and interest rates being higher. And so if you're an all cash investor, you get to swing around like Conor McGregor and do whatever the hell you want. But
you got that swing down pretty good.
All right, where I see the opportunities going, and I feel like, and I'm not going to say we're the only ones, but you and I, Ryan, we're talking more about this than most other people that I'm having conversations with. And this is going to be in the area of short sales, people getting 30, 60 days behind on their payments. And I think for me in the next 12 to 18 months, this is where I see the opportunities going. And if you don't know how to do one, you're definitely going to want to text the word FLIP to 623-AZ-RECON. That's FLIP to 623-AZ-RECON. All right, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong. This is how I'm seeing things going. People bought these homes, got incredibly low interest rates, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, rack up credit card debt like crazy. Then they have no choice. Then they have to do a cash out refinance. Now their interest rates might be, depending on when they did it, mid-6s, mid-7s, paid off their credit cards. And if you didn't know how to manage your credit then, chances are, because history leaves clues, now they're racking up credit card debt again. We're seeing some layoffs, and people at one point, they had a ton of equity, and they may still have some equity right now, but they had that low interest rate. Now they got a high interest rate. They can't afford their payment, and we're seeing, I think, more and more people are going to be coming 30, 60 days late. Where am I wrong?
We've seen some of this activity, and yeah, we're seeing people refinance out of 2%, 3%, doing cash outs, taking out the equity. Now, the beautiful part about today is we're not allowing people to go to 100% cash out. They're still required to have 20% equity in most cases, unless you have a VA loan. But we've even had those people return back to us, and we have seen they've returned to the same situations. In some cases, they have missed a couple of payments. And in those cases, there is nothing as a lender that we can do because we can't get them approved for a mortgage because of those late payments. So the risk factors are too high. So then that's when you need these individuals need to research possibly selling their homes. Most of them that we're seeing have plenty of equity. But some of them are just wanting to hold on, and they're just digging their holes deeper.
All right, in a minute, I'm gonna let Ryan kind of dig into what these scenarios look like and short sale scenarios and the different groups out there. But a lot of people who are behind on their payments, typically 30 days they have a shot. We have seen statistically once someone gets 60 days late on payments, they typically don't ever recover from that. And so then they know that they're just going to stay in the home until it gets foreclosed on, until they kicked out. But when it comes down to credit and future borrowing power, huge difference between having a short sale on your credit report as opposed to a full-blown foreclosure.
I mean, you're talking 4 years of seasoning between the two. So absolutely, it's a big deal. When it comes to credit, you can rebound from a short sale pretty quickly. I would say, it's been a while since I've seen somebody, but it was very common back in like 2010, 11, 12. And you would see people back in the 700s within a year after a short sale. Foreclosures, that's a different story. a lot of times you would see people battling to get back into qualifying ranges after 2 years. And a lot of times when they're at those points, they're not only battling their mortgage, but they have other issues that they're dealing with, late car payments, maxed out credit cards. There's a lot that goes involved with it. So if you're getting to those points, I would say have the conversations with these guys. Maybe you can use your equity to restart your life, and possibly get yourself in a new home within a year.
All right, so Ryan, let's talk to the first group of people. I can't imagine that we don't have people listening to this podcast. And I know that there's a lot of embarrassment that comes along with it.
A lot of emotion.
A lot of emotion. You're not alone. You're not the only person. You just need options. You need to figure out how to make a terrible situation as good as possible. And I know we have people listening that should be texting the word flip to 623-AZ-RECON that are 30, 60, 90 days behind.
It usually, like from what it looks like to me, it's just kind of fallout from someone making a good investment and leveraging it properly. And they say, well, I made such a good decision on this, it's going to allow me to start making some bad ones. And then they start making those bad ones, and then it becomes a habit. And then all of a sudden, they've more than caught up to what that one good decision was, and then they're finding themselves stuck. And so I think the hardest part is picking up that phone because, like you said, there's motion, there's some embarrassment, there's a lot of pride. There's like, I get it, seen it. Hell, I've even been victim to it too.
Me too.
Me too.
I've made some bad money moves. Get on the phone. It's okay to ask for help.
And I would say this, and I don't know if there's I'm just going to be direct. That's all I can do. Is if you're late on your payments and you have no intention of making another mortgage payment again, at some point you're moving, right? You're moving. So now you got to explore your options. Option A, there's a possibility that there are people that are 30, 60 days late. They've kind of given up, but don't realize that they've got enough equity to be able to sell and pay off the mortgage and maybe put some money. And we see people just get paralyzed.
I think it's even simpler than that, my man. Like, I think that if they would have just picked up the damn phone and said, hey, what's my loan modification options out there?
True.
How I can keep this thing, because you're just going to trade one vice for another. That's not going to do you a damn bit of good, right? Like, we got to figure out how to get yourself out of that ditch and quit digging yourself deeper. And most of these banks have a loss mitigation department, and they're pretty damn easy to work with. They want to hear you out. They want to understand what the story is, and then they're going to back it up, and they're going to tack on any late payments onto the back end of the loan more often than not.
Yep.
Readjust what your payment is. Instead of doing a 30-year, we're going to do a 40-year now, so that it's something that they can actually afford. Like, there's so many different options. Of course, there's typically a good amount of equity in it that we could sell it, and you're going to get hurt very minimally. Short selling, like we've kind of been dancing around a little bit. That's another option. But just sitting down and letting a foreclosure go down, it's about the worst thing you could possibly do.
I think you bring up a good point about the loss mitigation departments and doing some sort of loan mod. And it's going back to the options. Unfortunately, there's a lot of predators out there. And when you start to get 30, 60 days behind, whether you like it or not, people are buying that information. They're buying that data. They're going to start texting, and they're going to start calling. And when you get on the phone with them and you ask them what the options are, and when they're not talking about loan mods and possibly selling it so you can retain some of your equity, but those are, to me, on the verge of being predators and taking advantage. And that's why if people, text the word flip to 623-AZ-RECON, our goal, regardless of what your situation is to provide all options on the table so that you can make, you got a series of options before you, and you can make a decision from those options that are going to best meet your unique goals.
And you may not know all the questions to ask, or you may not know what information to look for. I can't tell you how many times I've personally gotten on to conference calls with people and helped them negotiate a loan mod, or a short sale or any of these other things that we just saved you years and hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? It takes maybe an hour worth of time. Once we get someone on the phone, it's usually pretty quick to move it around. So again, swallow your pride. If you are in that situation, let's just spend the 15, 20 minutes talking about what's going on. And then that way we can present it to the bank and start working on understanding what your actual options are, not just what you assumed or thought would happen.
So, Justin, if after the show you could stick around for 15 to 20 minutes, we'll help you guys.
Well, I just want to throw out there, actually, we're working on closing one that Ryan helped today. Helped the family save the home.
Yep.
And that was a big deal. They were
was a nasty
in
one.
pre-foreclosure, so it was that was excellent. I just want to throw that out there.
Our other group out there is people who know people. You may have an opportunity. If you know somebody that's 30, 60, 90 days behind on their payments, and you're looking to get them help and help those people understand the options. But if some of these options are not available, maybe they're not in the equity position that they should be or could have been, now they're facing a situation where I'd rather not do a foreclosure. I'd rather sell my house through a short sale. And you're listening to this, you might know someone. There is opportunity there. And we can guide you through that, because as a investor myself, we always talk about how money never disappears, it just moves. I think this is where we're heading in the next 12 to 18 months.
It's not going to be record-breaking numbers, but yeah, there's going to be
opportunities.
There's going to be more opportunities out there. And if you have a friend or a loved one that needs someone to help them through it, why not it be you, right? Like, why not you go buy the property on a short sale or move into an equity position? It's either going to be you or another investor, right? Mm-hmm. So. I think that if we're all just kind of being a little more aware, right, and just kind of seeing how things are trending, then that's going to be a huge opportunity. I'm with you on that, buddy.
But at the end of the day, you can also be a hero to your family. You could be a hero to your friends.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if you'd like some more information about flipping opportunities and understanding short sales and foreclosures and the different options, all you got to do is text the word flip to 623 AZ Recon. That's flip to 623 AZ Recon. All right, Justin. It is Friday.
Yeah.
It is on you.
Oh, shit.
What are we doing today?
Favorite family entertainment places in the Valley. Mike, you go first.
Okay. Favorite family entertainment. Boy, obviously, it's going to involve food.
Of course.
Because
Peter Piper Pizza.
Now, if my kids were 21, I would say the Rum Runner, right?
Nothing screams family establishment like Rum Runner.
They're a little too old for Chuck E. Cheese. So I think when we're wanting to spoil the family and go out and have a fun night, and I know it's food, it's not necessarily entertainment, but it's kind of like entertainment. Dude, it's Fogo de Chao. It's Brazilian barbecue, because not only is it all you can eat, not only is the food amazing, but
did he just make food entertainment?
That's what he just
He
did.
just
because
did that.
the
He's
food,
way off top.
Yeah.
comes out on swords.
Got it.
Yeah, okay.
Fogo de Chao, Brazilian barbecue, Scottsdale.
Yeah, I mean, my answer is simple. It's Top Golf.
Top Golf, okay.
Top Golf is where we end up
That's
going,
always fun.
and that's before Laser Quest closed down, because we had a good time
Laser
doing
Quest
laser
was awesome.
tag.
You guys
but-
are old enough to remember, or old enough. You've been around long enough. Remember out here in Arizona? Because when I moved out here in the early '90s, they had the nickel arcades.
Oh, yeah, Nickel Palace over on 35th Avenue in Glendale.
Those are amazing.
I spent days in there in the summertime.
and it was only $2.
And it was right next door to the Dollar Theater. So it was like, all right, you're gonna go play 3 hours worth of video games and then go watch
a movie.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and then go do another 2 hours at the arcade. Yeah, that was it, dude.
Top Golf, good, solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with this place called Octane. It's Talking Stick in the 101. We went there last weekend. It was a lot of fun. So you race go-karts. There's a VR. There's an arcade there. They got great food. They got a bar there for the
So
the
he
adults.
just made it about food. I'm saying.
Yeah,
And
but
drinking.
it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
The racing the cars or the go-karts was
You're never too old for that.
top notch. Never too old. I'm the inner child came out of me 100%.
And back in the day, it was Castles and Coasters.
Yep.
You know, that's where everyone went. Or what was it called back then?
It was Castles.
It's always been Castles and Coasters since I've been out here.
But they just remodeled it.
No,
and
it was something else.
It was a
Forget.
golfing place before.
Yeah, golf and stuff. Golf and stuff. That's what
Yep.
it was. And so when they opened up the roller coaster, the Desert Storm roller coaster, my buddy was one of the first operators for it. And so whenever they brought in somebody new that was going to be an operator or working on it or whatever, they had to go on it without the bar on. Like that was their rite of passage or whatever to work it off.
That's so stupid.
I'm
It
like,
goes
you guys
outside.
are outside of your mind. I don't need that job. That's all you guys.
All right, if you're looking for different strategies to invest in Arizona or you're struggling and behind on making payments and need to explore your options, all you got to do is text the word FLIP to 623-AZ-RECON. That's FLIP